And welcome here to another edition of Recruit Spotlight on Husker Online. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. As always, Recruit Spotlight brought to you by our proud sponsors, Tanner's Sports Bar and Grill, Tavern 180 in Lincoln, 30th and Yankee Hill Road, as they are bringing you these exclusive interviews. And we've got another repeat, Steve, joining us here in the studio, back again for another visit to Nebraska. Brandon Baker from Mater Dei High School, the #1 ranked offensive tackle in the country, was in Lincoln for the Red White Spring Game. We're honored, Brandon, to have you back here on Recruit Spotlight. Great to see you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Well, let's get into it. I mean, you're back in Lincoln twice in a month now. You've been here. What did you really want to get out of this second visit? I know your brother was going to originally come, wasn't able to get out of Portland, but what did you really want to get out of this second trip to Lincoln?
Yeah, I would just say really just feel the energy and the atmosphere once more, and really just get a feel for how the stadium felt. Really something that I did not expect at all, especially out of a spring game. Having about 60, close to 70,000 people, unlike anything I've ever heard or seen, honestly, and really just get comfortable. Really, honestly.
Yeah, Brent. I always tell people, I'll cover games in the fall where the atmosphere is not as good as Nebraska's spring game.
Yes.
It happens.
Right.
It happens.
Yeah.
So what else did you take away? The crowd obviously impressed you. The energy impressed you. What did you think about what you saw on the field?
Yeah, I would say I definitely liked how tempoed they were. I didn't expect that, especially in the cold weather. You kind of expect, the guys to be a little sluggish and whatnot, but I really liked how they were all upbeat and tempo. I would say both sides, not just the ones. It was with the twos as well, so that's definitely something.
So you watched it. Sounds like you watch it pretty closely.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
How much did you get a chance to talk with Donovan Raiola, Matt Rule? I know they had to kind of manage a lot going on this weekend. And what were your encounters like with the staff here this weekend?
Yeah, I actually got to sit down with Coach Raiola a bit with a couple other recruits, Houston out of Hawaii, as well as Makai from Texas. I'm not too sure about Houston, first time meeting him, but I know Makai, a 4-star offensive lineman. And so really just being able to sit down with those guys and go over his fundamentals, his technique, and it's kind of different than everyone else. He teaches knuckles up, so hands up like this. It's something that you don't see at all. He wants to keep it as natural as possible. Keep your knuckles up. Kind of keep your base shoulder width. You don't really see that at all. He teaches not the insteps, but on the ball of your feet.
On the ball of your feet.
Yeah, so it's definitely really something different. That's what he's learned at Notre Dame, and being able to coach. He's coached guys like Quinn Nelson, Stanley, the left tackle from the Ravens. That's
Well, he's
really
coached a bunch of guys.
Right. That's like great players. Quinn Nelson, a dog. Stanley, a dog. Those talented players. So being able to pick up what they were coached in college, it's definitely something that's real cool.
How would you characterize your relationship with Coach Raiola?
Yeah, so he's Polynesian as well.
Okay,
such as myself. So that's definitely always a factor, I would say. In the Polynesian culture, families definitely a really valued and Polynesian custom, and so I would say really just build on that foundation. He's a real cool person. On top of that, something I could feel like I could trust. Really comfortable, like I said, not only with him but really with the whole program as of now.
What did he, in terms of a role, like how did he describe how they would want you? I mean, are you being recruited as a true left tackle, a guy that could play both left and right? I mean, how did they kind of lay it out, like how they would envision you if you played at Nebraska?
Yeah, I would just say tackle. He didn't really specify as far as left or right, but offense tackle. I would say that really goes with my length. Just measured at 83-inch wingspan.
83-inch wingspan?
Yes, sir.
That's long.
And you're just under 6'5" height wise, but your wingspan is almost 7 foot tall.
Right. So I definitely have that advantage in my wingspan. As far as height goes, it really wouldn't matter due to my wingspan.
So you have planned official visits to Ohio State, I think June 9 through 11th.
Yes, sir.
And Georgia, June 23 to 25. Those are right now, those are the ones on the radar. Well, they're on it. They're on the schedule. Ohio State and Georgia. Are you going to put others on there?
Yeah, I definitely plan on it. Looking for more of a December decision.
Okay.
But things can really change. I would say at the moment, those are only 2 officials that I'm able to lock in the month of June.
Okay.
So hopefully, I'd rather be midweek in June, or possibly being able to fit something in May, or even possibly in season or
Okay.
after. Is what I'm looking toward filling in for 3 officials.
In Nebraska, as far as getting one of those 5,
Mhm.
I mean, would you say the chances are pretty high the Huskers will get one of those 5 officials?
I would say for sure. For sure.
Whoa.
That's not even a question.
Really?
Yes, sir.
See, now that'll excite people.
Yeah.
No, this trip though, like it's your second time now, and clearly you came back for a reason. I mean, what was it about trip number 1 to really what's almost a foreign country to a guy from Southern California?
All right.
What brought you back trip 2?
Yeah, I would say really I loved the first visit, honestly. Really just backtracking to see if, that's how it would be today. And it was exactly what it was.
Was it?
Yes, sir.
Interesting. I got a bigger picture question for you,
Mhm.
Brandon. You have a lot of accolades. I mean, that number 1 offensive tackle in the 2024 cycle, a lot of attention. You get a lot of attention. How do you guard against complacency?
Mhm.
I mean, how do you guard against this feeling that you've already arrived?
Right. I would say really just reminding myself where I come from, and always being grounded and humbled. My parents raised my brothers and I in kind of that foundation of always being humbled and grounded no matter what, and just always remember, where I come from.
Mhm.
I didn't always have this. It took a lot of work to get here.
Did it?
And just continue remembering that, sophomore year of high school, actually, it's like, entering, supposed to be a big season. Unfortunately, had some injury during the summertime, so I wasn't able to start right away. And being able to experience a Mater Dei versus Duncanville game, I stand on the sideline the whole game. I remember my parents, my little brother, I have some family from Texas. They all attended the game, and they just stand on the sideline and remembering, like that hurt a lot.
Did it?
Yeah, that kind of really just turned on the switch and made me realize that, not everything's guaranteed in this life. You have to work for it, and you have to be consistent in all that you do, not just on the field, but off the field.
Brandon, you brought a teammate with you,
Mhm.
Aiden Breeland, also from Mater Dei High School,
Yes, sir.
the top defensive lineman in California. You're the top offensive lineman in California.
Mhm.
Let's get into that relationship. First
Yeah.
of all, how close are you? It's got to be fun in practice to have essentially 2 of the top linemen in the state, not only in California, but in the country on one high school team.
Right. I'd say it's a lot of fun. That's my guy. Our family for sure. We locked in, that kind of relationship has been built, I'd say, really from youth ball. We've been playing against each other. It's crazy to think about. In youth football, he played offensive line. I played defensive line.
Oh, he switched. Oh, he switched it up.
So coming into high school, he was a defensive line.
Mhm.
I was offensive lineman. Actually, from freshman year, he was already on the radar. Had offers, had looks. Even sophomore, junior year, he was a kind of highly recruited guy from the jump. So being able to kind of challenge myself in that way and approaching that as a challenge every day definitely helped me to be where I am today, for sure.
One more, and I'm swinging back to Nebraska. Just one more for me, Sean. How much does Nebraska try to sell you its offensive line tradition? Because it has quite a tradition here.
Right. I would say, honestly, I wouldn't say much, but I would say as offensive lineman, you don't really have to.
Oh, are you aware of it?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it meaningful to you?
Yes, sir. It is. Most definitely.
Okay.
Something that I would love to see bring back here in Nebraska.
You got a taste too of kind of Big Ten, NFL weather in a lot of respects. When you play in the NFL, you'll be playing in weather like this wherever you go someday. If you play deep in the season, especially, but 40s, 20 some mile an hour northern winds. I mean, what'd you think of that?
Oh my God.
It was a man's day out there now.
What'd you think?
Yeah, definitely something different. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine how it felt for the players on the field, honestly. Being able to kind of stay loose throughout that time, 2.5 hours, sometimes 3, depending on the game situation. It can be kind of tough. As far as, being from California, not really used to that, just so really props to them, being able to do that. And so, yeah.
If you go to Green Bay, that's the way it's going to be, or Buffalo.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes,
well,
sir.
And I will say this, like September and October,
Not that bad.
are probably the nicest months in Nebraska. November, you kind of dance with a little bit. You might get 1 or 2 games
You might
like
get
this.
Yeah.
Or you might get 70 in November. It's real like today.
You're right.
Today is about it. Like it's about as bad as you'll see a lot of
In the
times.
spring. Yeah.
Spring is so. I mean, it was 90 degrees last week.
Yeah.
here, and it's 40 today. So spring is a hard month in Nebraska because we kind of go back and forth with what we want to do with our weather.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon, thank you a ton.
Thank you guys.
It's nice to
Really
meet
do
you.
appreciate it.
We've enjoyed it, and hopefully we get to do it again. Twice in a month, we had a chance to visit with the nation's #1 offensive tackle, Brandon Baker. Once again, Recruit Spotlight brought to you by Tanner Sports Bar and Grill, Tavern 180 in Lincoln. Thanks again to Brandon Baker. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan for HuskerOnline.com.